Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Jim Crispino. I'm the Senior Director of Developer Evangelism, and this is our monthly DevCast series, and I will be presenting on our system called Collaborate, which is the Genesys Cloud UC platform. Before we get into that, a few logistics. I will try to leave a 10-minute Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you have questions during the webinar, I'd encourage you to use the Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom and post your question there. That way you may not forget it toward the end, and I will either try to answer those as we go along, or I'll save them up and answer them at the end. Also, this tutorial is being recorded. It'll be uploaded to our Genesys community YouTube channel. You are able to get to those. I have the wrong URL again this month. You will be able to get to those from our developer center. That URL is developer.genesys.cloud/video. I apologize, I must not have saved the slide update. So developer.genesys.cloud/video, or you can go onto YouTube and search for Genesys Community, and you will find our station out there as well. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing momentarily, and I'll start sharing on another screen. So let me hop over to that and share screen. All right. So Genesys as a UC platform, you all are probably aware of the plethora of UC platforms out there. Probably the most prominent ones today are Teams, which everyone knows about, and Slack. But Genesys has had a UC platform built into Genesys Cloud almost since it started, almost 5 years ago. So we have had the ability to do inter-office chat, have groups, share files, video chat with one another. We've been able to do that for quite a while. And it's an often overlooked feature of our platform. So I want to cover that off today because there are some important aspects of it, even in the contact center, for potentially back office workers, for HR systems that you might want to integrate to. And we'll cover all that off today. So I'm going to look over here because that's where my screen is, and I'm going to log into Genesys Cloud. And you've probably seen the screen where you have to select Collaborate, Communicate / Architect. When you first log in, you have to choose one or the other. So Communicate is the UC platform that is built into Genesys Cloud, and Communicate is the contact center capabilities with queues and call flows and routing and all that goes along with the contact center. Genesys, we use the UC platform internally. Everyone in the company is in our system, set up organizationally. You can see people's supervisors, their peers, their direct reports. You can chat with anyone in the company. I am not going to show you that instance today because there's too much PII in that for me to share that. So I'm going to show my developer org, and I've kind of got that set up a little bit to try and give you a taste of what that looks like. So you probably are all aware of the little person icon that represents you up here in the corner where you can change your state. And that state, usually in a contact center, you'll either be on queue, or that state will indicate that you're on a break or you're in a meeting, or you're not available, basically. But along with that state is your presence, or not your profile information. So it's not intuitive, but if you click on your picture, it's going to bring up your profile. And your profile obviously has your name. It can have your title. It can have the department that you work in. You can put a little quote in there that people will be able to see while they're chatting. Like a lot of people here at Genesys put when they're out of the office on PTO, or they'll put music that they're listening to, or they'll put some inspirational quote or whatever. It's a way for employees to personalize their profile a little bit. Additionally, down below, we have multiple sections of the profile. If you add a section, I've already got several added. The ones that are available are in this list if you click add a new section, but you can have a relationships section where you can show a view of your supervisor, people who report to you, and peers who are on the same level as you that report to your management. That might come from an HR system. So that's kind of important. If you have an HR system that's maintaining that organizational structure, you can push that over into Genesys Cloud. You can use our APIs to create those relationships, create those users, create those relationships, and they'll be available. And I'll show you how that's important here in a little bit. There's other sections. You can, if you choose to, you can list the location that you're at. You can have a biography page. You know, if you want users to collaborate with one another and really get a sense that they're connected, you know, maybe they want to share some personal information about themselves or how long they've worked at the company or their interests and their hobbies, maybe even their spouse. Additionally, we can show groups that you're a member of. So we have the ability to have collaborative groups of people. Those can be professional work groups. So you might have a support group, or you might have a development team, or you might have certain product management teams or something like that. You can have social groups. You know, maybe you have a social topic you want to have available for your employees to just chat together and keep up relationships. And you can see the groups that you own as well. There is contact information. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, you can edit your contact information. You can have additional email addresses, phone numbers, etc., for people to use to get into contact with you if they're not doing it through Genesys Cloud. Skills and certifications are available. Those are used for searching. So if you have different skills available within your organization, and as a user, I need to find somebody who knows JavaScript, or I need to find somebody who's in human resources or who's on the support team. You can have those skills or those certifications, and those will be available to search. I'll show you that in just a minute. And then there's some human resource information if you want to put that in, maybe an employee ID, what type of employee, when they were hired, who to contact in case of emergency. All of those additional profile fields are optional. You don't have to use any of those, but the more you use, the more benefit you can get out of the system. And if you search, so I told you you could search for skills. So if I put in development, I think that was one of the departments. So first of all, it'll show me a list of everyone who's in the development department. And if I show all results, what I get is a list of everything, people, groups, and locations, or I could just look at people that have that keyword or groups that have that keyword. If I go to all, there's also filter criteria. So maybe I want to find someone in development who knows Java. And if I narrow that down, so now I've got a keyword of development with a skill of Java. So that brings me 3 people. And maybe I want to see a principal developer evangelist. And so that's going to narrow that down to Tim Smith, right? And if I click on Tim, I can see his profile that he's got set up here. And if I click chat, I can actually chat with Tim. Tim is not on right now. I will show you chat here in a minute, but that is how you navigate around. So you can also search for someone directly. So if I wanted to look for Prashant, who's on my team, but not available this morning either, I can find Prashant. I can click right there. I can mark him as a favorite. Maybe he's someone I chat with frequently. So over here on the left-hand side, I've got a list of favorites that I might interact with frequently. So I can have people and groups marked as favorites. Other people that chat with me show up in the direct messages. So they may not be someone I chat with frequently, but they are someone who I've had a conversation with or who has chosen to have a conversation with me, and they'll show up in the direct messages. Official groups, so you can have available groups that you can chat with. Here at Genesys, like almost all of our product teams have a specific group. So if I have a question about architect, I can go to the Genesys Cloud Architect group and I can post a message in there and talk to anyone on the architect team, because everybody on that team is a member of that group. And when I post in there, they'll get a message from me and they can respond back. So it's really powerful for collaboration. Obviously, that's why it's called Collaborate. Let me give you an example of how to chat. So I have another window here. Let me bring that up. So I've got John Doe here, okay? And John wants to send me a message. So when he chats with me, I can click on that and it's going to bring up my chat. And you can chat back and forth. And he might say, how was your weekend? Now, when you're chatting back, you can quote something. It was great. We took a trip. And so I can put into context my answer. So if we have, if John is like sending me a fire hose of messages and I want to pick one out to respond to it, I can quote just one message of his and respond back. I can also at people. So if I were in a group, let's see, if I was in the developer support group, I could say at John, and it will pick up a name. I can at somebody, and that will send them a notification that they were mentioned in a group, and the group name will highlight. So just a way to get somebody's attention and get them into a group. I can also create start a personal group. So if I want to just on the fly create an ad hoc group of 3 people, maybe I want to talk with a couple of people on my team, I can put in what the topic is about. Maybe I want to get together with a few of my friends at work, and I want to invite Agnes, and I want to invite Prince. So both of them are on my team. And I can create an ad hoc group. And now they're all in here, right? I can see who the participants of this group are. I can invite others. I can send a message to them, and that will be distributed to everybody on the team. Everybody in this group will get that message and they can reply back. I can search for text in a chat. So, if I've got chats with my team that have gone back a year or more, and you can go back and search. You can search for things that you've chatted about in the past if you want to search for those. So, and then lastly about chat, there are slash commands. So you can say, I'm away from the keyboard, and that will notify everybody in the team that you're not at your desk. You can send gifts, happy birthday, so you can put a little dancing gif in there. So if you want to wish somebody a happy birthday, you can throw them a little animated gif. You can hop back and forth between previous rooms. You can leave a room. You can mute notifications from a room, and you can pop out a room. So if you want to keep track of this room specifically while you're doing other things in Genesys Cloud, you can pop that out. And I know I've spent a lot of time on chat. I mean, everybody's used to chat. But I'll show you how that becomes important here in just a minute. So there's that chat room. I can stay in that chat room and I can navigate away to other rooms now, but I can keep an eye on that if something's happening in that room and I want to keep chatting with them. So it's a pretty powerful platform. I can also do, if I'm in a room with a group, I can do a group video call. Or if I'm just in with an individual, I can call them through Genesys Cloud. So to use my Genesys Cloud WebRTC endpoint to call that other person, and it'll call them through their WebRTC endpoint. Or if they've got forwarding set to maybe their mobile phone, if they came in here and set to have their calls forwarded, you know, maybe they're going to be out for a week, but I still need to reach Prince, I can call him and it'll call his mobile phone. This also works with the Collaborate mobile app. So if you want to be reachable outside of work hours or on the weekend or whatever, if you install the Genesys Collaborate mobile app, you can do almost all of the same features just on your mobile device. All the chatting, video calling, regular calling, the groups, everything that you would do on the desktop app is at least in terms of Collaborate, is available through the mobile app as well. So, like I said, we use that a lot so that we can keep in touch with each other. Even when there's escalations on the weekend, I can get notified on my mobile device and then, you know, run into the office or something if I need to. So, so that's profiles, and that's how to use the system. I fairly frequently, when I'm looking up somebody, you know, if I want to look up Prince, I can go see who his peers are, and I can go see who his management is, and I can navigate up through the hierarchy, and I can say, oh, okay, so Jim reports to John Doe. John Doe is kind of the top. I don't have anybody above John, so John must be the CEO, and his direct reports are me and John Carnell. So it's really helpful. Like I often will go look for a sales rep or somebody in a part of the organization I don't know. So I'll use that relationship hierarchy to go and search that to find out who that person is or who they report to. Maybe I need to do an escalation to their boss to ask a question because they're out or they're not responsive. So it's just a great way. And so that can sync all of that profile information and the org chart and all of that. You can create that in a number of different ways. So now I'm gonna hop into the development aspect of that now that I've spent 20 minutes talking about how to use the UC platform in Genesys Cloud. So let me bring up the Developer Center. And I'm going to go into the API Explorer because I find that the easiest to navigate. And so first of all of those users and that profile information are available under the users area of the API, of the platform API. So if you scroll down to users, and let me get my user ID, which is right here. So as you're probably aware, everything in Genesys Cloud is a big ugly GUID. So let me get that. And I'm going to start with just getting my basic user info. Okay, so I'll put my user ID in there. I'll run that request. And here is a lot of the high level information about me: my name, my department, my title, kind of that basic profile information, along with my contact information, how to get a hold of me, etc. So, but that doesn't get me all of those other profile fields. Okay, just the basic query at API v2 users and the user ID just gets you that high level information that you see. Let me show you that just so you see it. That gets you this stuff up above the line of how to communicate with them. So if you want more, there's this expand column or expand property. So you can see over here, there are a number of values that you can expand on. And if you expand on, let's do biography, and let's do employer info, and let's do skills and certifications. And that's probably enough. So you can see, you just comma separated line of things to expand on, and you can see how it just tacks that on to the GET request as a query parameter for expand. But if I execute that now, not only do I get the basic info that I got before, but if I scroll down a little bit, down below images, you'll see here's the biography section. Here's my employer info section. Here's my skills that I'm proficient in. And what else did I asked for something else, certifications. Those came in, maybe I mistyped that. Certifications. Yeah, they must be in there. I must just be overlooking them. But they do come back to you. And so you can use that API to get information out of Genesys Cloud, but you can also create users and put all that information in with a post request. So you can use that to update the user and update their profile information. There is also, if I take my user ID, if you want to get that org chart, maybe you want to know Jim's superiors. Who does Jim report to? I can paste that in, and this will just give me that I report to John Doe. And that's it, right? It's a condensed amount of JSON data coming back. I just needed the supervisors. I don't need all that other information about Jim. I just need to know who he reports to. I can get that. Or if you need to know who reports to Jim, I can put that in and send that. And this will give you a list of the people who report to me. There's Agnes, and there's, we scroll on down, there's Jen. We scroll on down, would have Jerome and Prashant. So you see the list of users there. And there are peers. So those are adjacent. So if you want to see who Jim is adjacent to, I should be adjacent to John Carnell. So I report to John Doe, and John Carnell is my peer. So you can get that org chart information using those APIs. There's also other APIs for the profile information that you can use here. So you can use the raw APIs to create users, set up those relationships, and populate all that data just through the basic API. There is also, I'm going to show you a couple more things about populating that data, because if you're in a data center, or I mean, you're in a contact center, or maybe the contact center plus the larger enterprise, and it's thousands of people, you may not want to use the API. You may want to use different tools to get that information in. So if you go to people, we do have a bulk import facility. Let that populate, click bulk import. And if you upload a CSV, let me open that. Trying that over here. I know this is going to be an eye chart, but you can fill out these columns: name, email, phone, extension, title, department, kind of that, just that basic info. And you can use that as input to do a bulk import. I do believe there is a limit on the bulk import. You may have to do batches at a time. I don't think you could do like 5,000 users at a time. But you can use the bulk import facility. We also have some additional APIs. So we support Skim. And actually, instead of showing you the APIs, let me show you Skim here. So let me go to the Developer Center. So Skim is a standard for like HR systems and the ability to sync users across platforms. So if I go into the platform API and API resources and I go down to Skim, and there's an overview on Skim. This will tell you how to use it. So we can hook up to additional systems, and that data can be pushed over to Genesys for at least the users and the groups that you want to create. And if you want to learn about Skim in the Resource Center, if we pop this open. So the Developer Center is one site, right? Developer Center is great for APIs and how to use them, but the Resource Center is more of the user's guide of how to use Genesys Cloud. And so the Resource Center will tell you how to use Skim. Skim can work with Azure Active Directory, with Okta, and with one login, or you can write your own. So if you want to use the Skim APIs and hook that up to your HR system and push that HR data over to Genesys Cloud and keep it in sync, you could write a little application that pulls that data from your HR system and uses Skim to get it in. Some additional methods would be the CLI, the command line for Genesys Cloud, which is also documented in our Developer Center. So I believe it is gotta think where the CLI is. There it is, CLI, it's right on the main page. So you can use the CLI, which is our command line interface. So you could take a CSV file or some file of data that's delimited in some format, and using command line scripting, read each record from that file and use the CLI to create users and relationships of users. You can also do something similar with CX code. So if you want to do more of a CI/CD pipeline with like Jenkins or something like that, that would keep a system in sync, you can use CX's code scripting to do something similar. So we have those tools available that will populate the system, especially if you have a large amount of data. If you have a large number of users you want to create and you don't want to do them all by hand. We have multiple avenues to get that data in. Now, once you have that data in, I showed you how to use Genesys Cloud to do searching, right? You can search really free text search up in here. But as a developer, maybe I want to search also, you know, from a program I'm writing. So we have APIs to do the searching. We also have a tool. So I'm going to show you this tool over here. We have a search tool. So you may be familiar with the analytics query builder where you can query conversation data. But if you want to search the directory, we have a search tool. But we can do a general search or a suggestion search. I'm just going to do a general search. And it comes up and it says, what do you want to search? I want to search users. I want to search groups and locations. 25 per page returned to me. And by default, I'm going to take, I want all profile data returned. And then I'm going to apply a filter. Maybe I want to know, I want to search for, I want to search on name, and I want to search for Crispino. Search for myself. What did I just do? Do that again. Add in name. All right. So you can see it builds my search term over here. So, you know, I'm asking for users, groups, and locations, anything with the name of Crispino. And when I execute that query, it's just like searching in Genesys Cloud, except that I get the JSON back. And it's going to list for me all the users, groups, and locations that have the word Crispino in it. Okay. And there should only be myself. I'm the only one, and I'm a user. If I put in that search term of department, and I want to find development resources. So now my query has changed and I execute that query. I should get a different list now. Now I get Tim Smith, should get John Carnell and a couple others Robert Smith, and there should be one more. I thought there was one more. Sheldon Cooper. So, so I get the 4 users. So I really can search for any search term that I need to, and I can craft that query here and use that in the API when I want to search. So the API is API v2 search. Okay, and if I choose to not get all the fields back, but I just want the GUID back. Let's say I want everybody in development, but I just want their user IDs. I execute that query. Now I don't get all that profile information. I just get their user IDs. And maybe I can take that and use those user IDs to pull out maybe I just want their supervisor, or I want, I want some other piece of profile data, but I don't need it all right here. Or maybe I'm just going to display these in a list and let somebody select from those. So, maybe I want GUID and I want name. So it just reduces the amount of load on Genesys Cloud to return that query and return all the data associated with that query, so that you can use that in whatever tooling you need to in your application. All right, moving on. I'm trying to keep track of time. So I want to share with you one last useful feature of Genesys Cloud and the UC platform, and that is the ability to call webhooks to post messages into a chat. So I'm going to hop back to Genesys Cloud. And if I'm sitting in a chat room, I have the ability from a third-party system, or really from anywhere that can make an HTTP request, can call a Genesys Cloud webhook, and a message can be posted into a chat room for informational purposes. So let me give you an example. My team, I work on the App Foundry team here at Genesys. I work on our marketplace team, and we have partners, other companies that want to list applications in our marketplace. They register on a website, they fill out a form, and they click submit. And I would have to proactively go out and monitor the list every day. And I wanted to be notified the moment somebody registered. So I wrote an integration that when they register, that email is processed and a webhook is called and posts into our App Foundry chat room that we have a new partner that just registered. And it includes the link to that partner's registration information. So I can click on it right from the chat room. So I'm going to show you an example of how that's done today. I think that's really powerful. We have some built-in webhook integrations. So let me take you to the Developer Center. And if I go to APIs and I go to webhooks, so webhooks is it's an integration type. And as I mentioned before, the Developer Center is all about how to call the APIs. So the information you see on this screen says, all right, here's your JSON payload. Here's how you might make that request to send that JSON payload into your webhook. But the Developer Center doesn't talk about how to set up that webhook integration. So you have to go out to the Resource Center. So if I click that, it'll take me out to the Resource Center. It tells me how to add a webhook integration and how to set up a webhook integration. I'm going to show you that here in this webinar. If you ever need to go back and refer to it, you can read the documentation on it. We have some built-in integrations. You'll see most of those are developer focused because we use those with our CI/CD pipelines when we check stuff into Bitbucket or GitHub, or when Jenkins is running, or when a Jira ticket's opened, or when we're on PagerDuty and we have an escalation. Any of those post information into chat rooms for us. And you might use this even in a contact center situation where you want to notify a team of people who may not be on queue all the time, but can go on queue. You can let them know that there are things in queue. They'll get a little notification that there's something in the queue and they need to log in and go ready and have that routed to them. Or information from a third-party system to a group of experts, that you want to post in. So let's go set up that webhook. We go back to Genesys Cloud. I actually already have it set up, so it's really going to be more of a just showing you what I did. So down in integrations, I'm going to add an integration. And if you search for Webhook, you're going to get all of the ones that we support, but this generic chat notification, that's the one that you can use for any third party. So if you click install on that, that's going to pop you back into the list of integrations. I'll show you what I've got set up for mine. So I've got this DevCast chat notification. So I gave it a name, and it automatically creates a webhook link for me. So I don't have to change this. I can copy that link, and I can take that to my third-party system that needs to call Genesys and call that webhook. You can take that link over to that system to call that. Now, what we need to do is we need to go to the mappings tab. This is the important piece. So we have that webhook, but it doesn't know what to do with that data yet. So if I go to mappings, I added a mapping here. I gave it a name, and I said, post any message you receive into developer support. So you can pick multiple targets and post those messages into multiple chat rooms if you need to, or you can just pick one. You can also add filters. So imagine you were writing a system that was, let's say it was Java-based, you were using Java logging, and you wanted to write a custom logger that would call the Genesys chat webhook. If if you had the log level of error set, it would call your logger and send that error to a Genesys chat room. That might be beneficial. You could filter on maybe the message needs to contain, I'm sorry, that's a little small. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, there we go. So maybe the message needs to contain a certain value, or there is metadata. So there in that JSON of the webhook, there's the message you want in the chat room, and then there's a metadata property. And maybe the metadata you want to only show, it has to match exactly, and it has to say error or something. So you want to only accept messages where the metadata says error. So it's just a way to filter out information. I'm actually going to not do any filtering. I'm going to post whatever I send in my webhook right into the developer support chat room. So a quick way to test that is with Postman. So let me bring up Postman. So here I've taken my webhook, URL, put it over here. It's a post. Here's my data. So here's my message from Postman, and I've got some metadata in there that it's not going to be used because I'm not doing any filtering right now, but I could filter on something. So if I send that, you'll see the chat icon has a splat on it. If I go over to that, let me send it again because I want you guys to see this. If I send that, the developer support room comes red. That means there's something in there that I have not seen yet, me personally. Every user, that'll stay red until they've read everything in the chat room. So if I go over to that group, and there's my message from Postman. Let's just make sure that that was the current one. Jim's test, and I'll send again. And there it is. So that's from Postman. So that's great. That shows that you could write an application that would call that webhook and post that into the chat room. An interesting use case, though, is to process inbound emails to your contact center and notify users of certain emails. So show you how that works. So if I go back to integrations, I added, along with my webhook integration, my chat notification webhook, I also added a DevCast data actions. This is just a regular web service data action. So once I added that, I you pop over to Actions and show you what I set up. So I have a Genesys Cloud data action. My data action is going to take a message and a metadata as input parameters. It's not going to return anything on an output parameter. And on the configuration, I'm calling that webhook URL, and I'm sending in that JSON body that the webhook requires using the input message and the input metadata. And now I can call that webhook or that data action from anywhere in Genesys Cloud. That data actions are available, which means architect or agent scripting. So what I set up was an email flow. Let me go to architect. And I'm going to go to my emails, and I have DevCast developer support email flow. And it's a pretty simple email flow. It doesn't do much. It calls my data action. It calls my DevCast chat notification data action. And the message it's going to send is new email from, and it uses the email.message.from field to say who it's from, colon, and email.message.subject. So it's going to tell me who it's from and what the message is, or what the subject of the email is. That's the text that's going to come into my chat room. I, just for testing, I send an auto reply back to myself because I want to make sure, you know, that it sent in successfully, or if it failed, why it failed. So on my failure message, I report the error and stuff, and or if it timed out. And then that email is going to get routed into a queue. The example I built here is a queue that have users who aren't usually on queue. So, and they don't want things, even if they are on queue, they don't want things pushed to them. They want to pull emails out of the system. So what I did was I created a skill that no one has. I have a no route skill that users have to have for things to be pushed to them, but no user in that queue has that skill. So things will never be pushed. Agents will have to go in and pull emails from that queue, but they will get notified in the chat room that there's an email. So let me send that test. I want to verify the email address that I set up. Dev Foundry. It should be DevCast, devfoundry.mypurecloud.com. So let me start a new email. Pop that out over here. So I'm going to do DevCast, devfoundry.mypurecloud.com. Testing the DevCast chat notification. This is just a test. All right, I'm going to send that. Now, presumably, when that email comes into the system, Genesys Cloud is going to process that email. It's going to execute that email flow. And I did get developer support to highlight. So let's go see what's highlighted there. So I got a new email from Jim Crispino at genesys.com called Testing the DevCast Chat Notification. That was the subject. So I pulled those fields from the inbound email in the architect flow, and those posted in the chat room. So now I can go on queue. I should not get, I don't have that no route skill, so nothing got pushed to me. But if I go to the performance menu and I go to queues, let's let that load up. Give it a second. All right, for today, sorry about the screen being small there. and I go down to the developer support. What queue was that in? I forgot what queue I put that in. Let me look. DevCast developer support queue. That should be up here. Why am I not seeing it? There, I'm just overlooking it, sorry. All right, DevCast developer support. I should be able to see the interactions that are sitting in that queue. I selected today. Oh, I've got phone calls selected. So let me change my filter to all. All right, so there's the email from Jim Crispino. I can click over here. Let's see. Click. I went in the wrong place. Performance. Queues activity. All right, so I can see that email from Jim Crispino waiting. And if I click on the little 3 dots here by that one, I can say assign to self. And since I'm on queue, click assign to self. And now that email will be assigned to me. I can answer that. It'll pop up just as if I were an agent, but I don't have to be an agent that's online and on queue all the time. So I can see that email. I can show the images so everything fills out. I can reply to that email and say, hi, Jim, I received your email. And I can take advantage of everything. If I had canned responses, you know, I could insert those just like I was a normal agent. I can do anything with the email that a normal agent can do, and I can reply back. And Jim will get that reply in his inbox. So, and then I can mark that as done. So I've had several occurrences of people asking how to do that pull method and how to be notified that emails are on queue so that people don't have to manually go out a couple times a day and check that queue. And I really think using the chat with the webhook notification is a great way to do that. I don't know that I've ever looked into it, but there's maybe even a possibility to deep link directly to that interaction in the queues activity performance view so that they could go right to it. You might actually be able to add a link on to the chat notification that they could click on to get there easily. And I know that we do that with other systems, like we use Jira for ticketing. And I actually, when we post into the chat room, the Jira ticket ID is a link. So when I click on that, it launches Jira in another window and we can go look at the tickets. So, you know, you can make it really convenient to notify people of things that they need to look at and to take advantage of that. And, you know, a good example of that is the Genesys Cloud developer forums from our developer center. So every time one of you posts a question into the developer forum, we post that into a chat room so that we know instantly when you guys ask questions. And if we have the time right then and there, we'll hop right over and answer them. So it just allows you to be really responsive to things that you would otherwise have to go manually check periodically. So that is all I had to cover today. I'm going to open it up to questions now. We've got about a little less than 10 minutes till the top of the hour. And if you have any questions, please open the Q&A window and post your question into I must have done a fantastic job. We're not getting any questions. All right, well, as no questions are coming in, we can wrap up a little bit early, give you a few minutes of your day back. If you do have any questions, please go to the Developer Center at, not at our Dev Tools, but at our Developer Center. And if you go to the bottom, we've got a link to our forum. Please post a question in there. We are, as I said, we monitor that with our webhook integration into our chat room for developer support. So if you post a question there, we will see it. We'll be happy to answer that for you on anything that was covered today, or really anything else on the Genesys Cloud platform, any API question or integration question that you have. Please let us know there. We will be happy to answer your questions through that forum. And please keep an eye out for the next developer newsletter. It should be coming in a week or so with the DevCast for October. So thank you for attending today, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.